Welcome back. Moments ago, we just heard from presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump joining me over the telephone to weigh in on his campaign success. We covered everything from his feud with the GOP establishment to potential running mates in the general election. For more, I want to bring in Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano joining me right now. And
Good
Judge,
morning.
we also talked about minimum wage and the tax story in terms of his economic plan. What were your takeaways?
Well, in one respect, I was happy to hear him respect the concept of federalism, that the economy is different in different parts of the country.
Yeah, that made a lot of sense.
And minimum wage is a local issue. In another respect, listen, I know him as you know him, the Donald Trump we know, the non-celebrity, the businessman Donald Trump. That Donald Trump is a believer in the free market and understands that if you raise the minimum wage too high, you're actually going to put people out of work that you're trying to help because they simply won't be worth the money that the government's making you pay them.
He made that point umpteen times during the primary.
Yes.
And during the debates, he said it a number of times.
Yes, and I know that he believes that. Deferring to the states is a very, very interesting observation. He's right. It's a lot more expensive to live in New York City and in San Francisco than it is to live in Des Moines. I'm not picking on Des Moines. I'm just picking a city that's different from New York and San Francisco. He may be the first national candidate to respect and understand and now articulate that. In New Jersey, for example, where I live, the minimum wage is raised, excuse me, by the Constitution of the state of New Jersey according to the cost of living, because the politicians are gutless to get involved themselves, so they basically have passed it off to the economists.
Well, yeah, and that's what he's saying.
Donald Trump is arguing for what I think is a very interesting combination of free market versus local needs.
Mm-hmm. I also thought it was interesting during the interview. He suggested, he's like, I'm putting this out as a starting point. I know we're going to negotiate, and it's going to go through the Senate, and it's going to go through all. I think it's a smart move to acknowledge up front that I know this isn't the way it's going to end up. And that's not something you usually hear. What do you think about that?
It also goes to his strength and what he has and his brand, which is, I can negotiate almost anything. If I want to end up here, I'll start up there.
Yeah, but what about the potential for losing seats in the Senate? I mean, that's also out there. I mean,
that's why this gets to another issue you raised with him. This meeting with Paul Ryan and the Republican leadership, it's not just Speaker
Right, it's the House
Ryan,
GOP leadership.
in my view, is a lot more important than people are making it out to be. Because Paul Ryan is the highest-ranking elected Republican official in the country. He's right after the President of the United States, after the Vice President, he's next in line to being the President. He's the chairman of the Republican National
Which is why what
Convention.
He says matters.
Correct.
To say something on, on national television.
They both need to work on unity. I was a little disappointed when Paul Ryan said it's more Trump's burden. Trump is saying, I think quite properly, it's everybody's burden.
Well, let's not forget that this is the 2012 VP nominee, and you had the 2008 Republican VP nominee, Sarah Palin, saying that she's going to support Paul Ryan's primary candidate. He's got an opponent in the primary.
I don't think that's a realistic Listen, I know her and like her and respect her, and I understand her wanting Donald Trump to win, but I don't think it's realistic to think that Paul Ryan would lose in the primary. This is not another Eric Cantor situation.
All right, let me ask you about Hillary Clinton. She says she has not been contacted by the FBI just yet over the private email server situation.
If you get to question her, Maria, I want you to ask the question differently than everybody else. Everybody else says, have you been contacted? And she answers literally, truthfully, but in the spirit of the answer,
her lawyer's going to be contacted.
Correct. The FBI cannot contact her when they know she's represented by a lawyer.
That would be really disingenuous. Obviously, we know what we're talking about here. She could just lie like that. And
so our colleagues on other networks, when they say, have you been contacted? And she says, no, they drop it there. Has your lawyer been contacted? Answer, yes. Look, her lawyer is in contact with the Justice Department on an almost daily basis.
What is more onerous? What is more devastating? Is it the email scandal or the foundation situation? We had Peter Schweitzer on earlier, and he went through a litany of countries that were in business with the State Department, the U.S., Nigeria, a handful of others, And at the same time, Bill Clinton was being paid $600,000, $500,000 for speeches.
I am familiar with Peter Schweizer's arguments.
Pay to play.
In my opinion, the public corruption investigation of her is far more devastating, easier to understand, and easier to prove. But it's not going to happen tomorrow because it's very complex.
I mean, Darrell Issa said they're probably not going to come give us the details until later in the year, like after the election.
On the public corruption, on the email one, they are wrapping it up because she will be interviewed. Take this to the bank in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think she's foolish to be interviewed legally. Legally, you never want your client, who's the subject of a criminal investigation, to be exposed to the investigators. But she said so many times, I can't wait to talk to them.
Can she say no at this point after saying, I can't wait to talk to them?
No.
She's got to talk to them.
She has
to.
Correct.
All right, Judge. Good stuff.
We'll
Thank
be
you so much.
monitoring it for you, of
Judge
course.
Anthony Napolitano will monitor all of this for us. We'll see you soon, Judge. Next hour.